In this assignment, you're going to be reading James Barr's book, The Semantics of Biblical Language. I have an older copy here with me. James Barr is a British Old Testament scholar who is a theological liberal. That is, he does not believe that the Bible is the inspired or inerrant Word of God. But this book is primarily about linguistics, so his theological liberalism will show up only occasionally. I just want you to be aware of his position. Today's reading that you're doing is chapters 1 and 2, in which James Barr introduces you to the problem that he sees that he was seeing in 1963 with much of theological scholarship's use of the biblical languages. And in particular, he's targeting the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament, which looks like this. The Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament was considered the pinnacle of New Testament theological word study scholarship. And as one reviewer of James Barr's book said, Barr sounds a trumpet blast against the regiment of shoddy scholarship that marches through the pages of the Theological Dictionary of the New Testament. Now, in chapter 1, he's going to identify the essential problem, which is that scholars have wrongly concluded that the language and the structures of a language, the characteristics of a language, are clues to the nature of the language user's worldview. That is, how those who speak Hebrew think and see the world, or those who speak Greek think and see the world. And Barr will argue that there's no necessary connection between those two features. In chapter 2, he's going to lay out the typical ways in which, in the 1960s, theologians were contrasting the Hebrew mind and the Greek mind. And in fact, this is as contemporary as the second decade of the 21st century, because we continue to hear things like, unless you understand how Hebrews thought or Jewish people thought, you can't understand the New Testament or the Old Testament. And while there's a grain of truth to be found there, the truth of the matter is that there is a distinct disconnect between, no necessary connection between, how a person thinks and the nature of their language. So, I think you'll find James Barr a bit challenging to read, but I'm having you read him because he's the fountainhead of linguistic study of Hebrew in the modern period. And from him, people like D.A. Carson in his book Exegetical Fallacies and Moise Silva, Biblical Words and Their Meaning, have gained a great deal of insight, and I found it very valuable as a student of the Old Testament to have read James Barr myself. You'll be writing summaries of his chapters. The goal is to be concise. I encourage you, when you identify a principle that Barr articulates, to give an example of that in your notes that you'll be submitting online. Thanks, and welcome to reading one of the key texts in the study of the Old Testament.